These are the 8 things that crash drones. If you're a drone pilot, you definitely want to look out for all of these. These are things that I've either experienced myself, seen in the field, just common reasons, things you might run into day to day as a drone pilot. People say, if you become a drone pilot, be ready. You're going to crash at some point. Eventually, you will crash unless you're extremely lucky. But it's part of the job. So you just want to be aware of what you're getting into. For the first one, I'm going to start with is complacency. Whether you're new or you've been a pro for a while, it's easy to get familiar with something, get used to it, and you start to get complacent. And it's really easy to crash at that moment. Say you're flying a structure that you've flown 1,000 times. Maybe your mind starts to wander. You're thinking about other things. You look away for a second. Oh yeah, like you get cocky, you get confident. You want to make sure to always keep a beginner's mind, keep yourself present, don't get lost in la la land. There's several things you could do. You could anchor yourself in the moment. That's what I try to do personally. Let's say you're doing distribution, you're flying a highline pole, and you're doing the quadrants, you're taking your photos. What I would do is I would say to myself, every piece of equipment that I'm getting pictures of, I would say the quadrant that I'm on. So it'd be like 1, 1, 1, 1, and then you send back up 1, 1, 1, 1. Next quadrant 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Finish all your quadrants that way. It's just a little trick to help you stay present, stay in the moment. I'd say some of the closest calls that I've had to do with this next reason. That would be talking to people while your drone is in the air. You want to avoid it because it's almost like you're only using half your brain to fly. Have you ever tried to do something while on the phone? It's easy to make mistakes. It's easy to do the easy stuff, but if you got a $5,000 to $15,000 piece of equipment in the air, you don't want to have half a mind. So I would just say anytime anybody comes up to you in the field, don't be rude. Like you could talk to people, but I would say just tell them, hey, my drone's in the air right now. I'll land it, and I'll talk to you as soon as I land it. Just explain to them, the situation. Usually people will understand. Like you don't want to crash this thing. There's been plenty of moments where I feel like, oh yeah, like I got this. I could talk the talk and fly my drone, and then I realized like, oh wait, where was I? What did I get that picture? I don't know. So even if you don't have a close call or you don't almost run into a tree, you could totally mess up your workflow and forget where you're at and end up with some shoddy work. So one that people don't really think about a lot is bird strikes. You always want to keep an eye out for birds when you're flying. So the three birds you really want to look out for are going to be eagles, seagulls, believe it or not, and hawks. Especially if you're flying near a nest or next to like a giant tree, they could be hiding in there. If there's a tree right next to your structure and there's a nest in that tree, good luck. So definitely keep an eye out. They will attack. Either they think it's a toy or they think it's a threat. So those 3 birds you definitely want to look out for. Taking your eyes off screen. This is an important one. It can happen easily. So you're flying your drone, you're surveying, you're going to fly to your next structure, take a quick look at the map to orient where you are with the GPS. Next thing you know, you run into a big transmission pole or a line and you're on the ground. And that is the worst. When you take your eyes off the screen, it's only to see where your drone is at in physical space. You don't want to fly with anything blocking your screen with like a settings menu or with the map pulled up. If you're gonna do anything like that, at least stop and hover. Ideally, come to a complete landing, and don't be flying in the air, basically flying blind. Related to the last reason, flying beyond line of sight. This is a super common one, and you can get an exemption on certain projects to actually fly beyond line of sight, but without this, you don't want to do it. The main concern would be obstacles in your way. There's trees blocking your view, but also your connection to your drone. Depending on what type of drone you have, you don't want to lose connection, and then you're struggling to run near it to regain that connection, and then return to home kicks on. Maybe you change locations since you took off, or maybe you're in a crazy area and it tries to return to home and smacks into a tree. You don't want that to happen. When you can't see your drone, I mean, you don't know what's going on. You don't see the people near it. You don't. If there are people, you don't see their reactions. You maybe somebody decides to shoot your drone and you have no visual warning of it. You can't see any animals nearby. Back to birds. Um, It's just never a good idea unless you have an exemption and a good reason to be doing it. Now, poor planning. This one's easy to do. You're in a rush, you want to get the work done, and you don't even really plan out what structures you're going to fly beforehand, or maybe you're working with a VO or an inspector. You're working with somebody, and you don't even communicate. Okay, hey, you're going to tackle this. I'm going to tackle this. It's super important to just go back to basics before every flight. Just communicate with everybody. Make sure everybody has the same idea of what's about to happen. It could easily happen that you're in the air hovering around looking for the next structure because you didn't take the time to plan out your route ahead of time. You didn't take the time to see in reality where those structures, where exactly they are. You're hunting them down in the air, and that could just lead to all the other problems we said before. That could lead to the bird strikes, complacency, any number of things. So you really want to focus on planning your flight, and that means communication. That means visually seeing exactly where you're going. Make sure you have everything you need with you and some backups. You want to have SD cards. You want to have extra batteries. Maybe you need a backup drone. Now with batteries, you want to make sure to be keeping track of cycle counts. You do not want to lose power mid-air. It can happen. I've seen batteries suddenly drop like 20% out of nowhere. Like you think, oh yeah, I got 50% left, and boom, you're down to 30. Worst case scenario, you're at 20 and then you're at 0 midair. So anyway, just keep track of your cycle counts and know how long those batteries are good for and know when you have to replace them. It can save you a lot of headache. Always check your propellers, replace your propellers often, inspect your drone before takeoff, make sure all your firmware is updated, all that fun stuff. Equipment failure, it can happen. Last reason is just being plain stupid. When you're working, you're not flying a FPV drone, you're not doing any tricks or stunts or showing off to people. Maybe you're working in a city and you're doing telecom or something, and somebody just walk by and take off your drone. Yeah, look at my drone. I don't know why that would impress anybody, but just remember when you're at work, and remember when you're not at work. This could apply to not just flying, but driving. So you got a company vehicle. It's like maybe one of the other pilots pull up next to you, and you think it's funny to race. Just no. It'd be so easy for somebody to look at your truck number and call your company, and you don't want to be out of a job just because you were being stupid. So that wraps up some of the top reasons why you crash. I'm sure there's a million more, so look out for part 2 to this video. If you liked the video, definitely like it. Follow me here, also on TikTok and Instagram. Also, I just started a Patreon. If you want to support, there's a $5 tier. You can check out Patreon. You get a little ebook, which is kind of a compilation of all the information I've put out so far. It just quickly covers, getting your Part 107, talks a little bit about my story, talks about stuff that's in this video, reasons why you crash, how to avoid it. It's fun to look through, and I think it has some good advice. So check out patreon.com/deadsetdrones. Thanks for watching.